Hey guys, Patrick Wind here and welcome to this training model called Top 50 e-commerce Facebook audiences. In this exclusive Ads Accelerator guide, I'm going to show you exactly which are the top 50 most important interest-based audiences that you can select in order to really find new people and therefore scale your business with Facebook ads. This little guide of 6 pages is also available in the download section of this video, so feel free to download it, of course, in any moment whenever you want, but I would still recommend you to first listen to this little video and understand what this guide is really about, because before we tackle the actual list of 50 audiences, it's important to understand the entire preparation and the entire process so you can really get the best out of it. Because this guide can really be a very powerful weapon for you to find new profitable audiences for your Facebook ads, but you have to use it carefully because not all of these audiences might be the right ones for your business. So the first thing you have to do when it comes to Facebook ads and you want to find new people and you want to scale your business is to really understand who is my actual customer. And the best way to do it is to run a buyer persona analysis first, okay? Because if you on your own don't know who your potential customer is, Facebook won't know it either, okay? So all of those tips and tricks are nice and good, but you have to have a clear buyer persona in your head of who your customer is, because if you don't have that, Facebook won't be able to target those people either. So the first thing I recommend is get started with this little exercise of a buyer persona. Here are some potential questions, and the goal is that you derive one stereotypical buyer or purchaser of your products. And one tip that I've prepared for you is that you use the Audience Insights tool from Facebook to make database judgments on who your true target audience is, and not just, okay, I think it's men between 20 and 30 years. No, it should be data-based, okay? So you could either go into Google Analytics or use the Audience Insights tool from Facebook. Okay, so once you have understood who your actual client is, there's still some general recommendations that we can provide for you in order to apply for your prospecting audiences. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you after the buyer persona is that you always create your audiences in assets and then audiences, and not just when you are on ad set level while you're creating a new campaign, ad set and ad, okay? So please take this tip very serious, and it will help you to make your life much easier and get your campaigns much better structured. So the way you want to create audiences when it comes to prospecting is not that you're in Ads Manager, create a new campaign, and then on ad set level you just select whatever comes to your mind. No, it's much better if you do it previously already here in Assets, Audiences, and then you create a new audience, would it be a saved audience, a custom audience, or a lookalike audience already within here, okay? So that's much better. And while you're doing that, if you work with saved audiences, which is also the main target within this little guide here, I really recommend, and it's super important, that you work with this potential reach estimation here on the right top. So if you are within assets, audiences, then you click on create new audience, then you create a new saved audience, okay? Then it will look like this, and then here on the right top, you see the potential reach, in this case 1 million people, okay? And this is super important because what it basically does is it starts with the general entire potential reach. For example, if you select Spain, it's like 26 million people. Then it filters down by each of the additional variables that you apply. For example, age, in this case 20 to 26, so it cuts it down already a little bit more. And then I already also applied a gender specific ones, and then you can apply also all the interests. And then the audience, the potential reach, gets smaller and smaller. And that's super important for you to understand, because what it does technically is that it starts with the entire Facebook population, okay, which is more than 2 billion monthly active users. Then it cuts it down by the first filter that you apply, which is usually the location. So it cuts down the 2 billion monthly active users to 26 million users in Spain, okay? Then it cuts down those 26 million to also only the people between 20 and 26, which will then be like, let's say 8 million. And then it cuts it down also by the gender and also the additional filters that I have applied. And then we come out with 1 million people. So that's how this entire tool works. And this is the way you get the most out of it. And just one additional remark is that if you create it here in audiences, or in assets and audiences, you will get a potential reach here. But this potential reach would be if you then on ad set level choose all placements, right? And it's important for you to understand that this number differs according to which placement you actually use. For example, if you use a target, if in a younger audience, let's say younger than 30 years, they are not so much on Facebook desktop newsfeed. However, you will have more of them on Facebook mobile newsfeed or on Instagram stories or on Instagram feeds, whatever, but they are not so much on desktop feeds anymore. So it's just important for you to understand that this is the potential reach if you would apply all placements, okay? Now the question, of course, is 1 million good or bad? Is this too small? Is this too big? And therefore I've provided you some general recommendations what you really have to have in consideration when you create those prospecting audiences, okay? And according to the recommendations of the Facebook headquarters in Dublin and also my personal experience of over 6 years working with the Facebook algorithm, is that the optimal audience size for an e-commerce business will be between 800,000 and 1.5 million people in outreach, okay? So this potential reach should be between 800,000 and 1.5 million. That would be optimal. And then the question is, yeah, okay, and what's the best placement that I should actually use for my outreach audiences? Well, one clear recommendation, it's always mobile first. So desktop newsfeed is way too expensive, and therefore it's good for retargeting, but it's not recommendable for your outreach campaigns. And desktop right column is cheaper than desktop newsfeed, but it is too small and doesn't give you the possibility to really communicate the brand story to a new audience. So the perfect device type is definitely mobile first. Okay, now the question is, within mobile, which one should we use? Like mobile newsfeed, Instagram feed, whatever. Okay, and here's some recommendation. Instagram stories is good because it has a very low CPM, so cost per mil, but also the CTR is low, so not so many people actually are used to swipe up. And of course, I still recommend to include it in your prospecting audiences, but I still would not neglect. I would still recommend to also use Instagram feeds and Facebook mobile news feed in your ad sets. So to sum that up, because that's actually super important, try to aim for an audience between 800,000 and 1.5 million and attack them only on mobile devices and attack them mainly on Instagram stories, Instagram feeds and Facebook mobile newsfeed. Of course, with the according, with the right ad for them. So on Instagram stories, you would show them a vertical one, and Instagram feeds and mobile newsfeed either one-on-one or horizontal one. So that's already very important. And the last general recommendation before we jump into the list of the entire 50 audiences is that you can apply some additional filters in order to really narrow down the audience and to really get to the 800,000 to 1.5 million here in this potential reach section. Okay, and the way you do it is, as I said, you apply additional filters all the time. But if you would just type in here, let's say for example, include people who match one of the following, marketing. If I would just type it in here where it says add demographics, interest or behavior, I would just type in, for example, football. It would not narrow it down. It will just include any people who match at least one of the following. So for example, if I'm at 1 million with the marketing interest, if I then add also football, this will not narrow it down to 800,000 or 700,000. No, it would actually add it up to additional people who also like football and who have not been included in marketing so far. So it would rather be 1.5 million. So that's a different option to play around with these filters, is to add people here. So if you type it in here, or if you narrow it down, you can cut it down to a smaller number here. And my expert tip here is always, like all of the recommendations down below are general e-commerce audiences, and therefore please always try to have at least one specific filter narrowing down applied that is related to the category you actually operate in. For example, if you sell jewelry or sports articles, electronics, watches, sunglasses, or whatever, also include that in a narrow down setting, okay? For example, people who are interested in marketing, if that's something that would be interesting for you, and also like jewelry, okay? That's super important. If not, if you just go on one of those general ones, it will be too unspecific. So guys, that was the recommendation of the first setup to really get into the e-commerce Facebook audiences. And in the next video, I'm going to present you exactly how you really find those people and you can really make the best out of it, and also what's the best story to tell those people. So guys, looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.